You've all heard this one before. Who would win in a fight? A billion lions or one of every Pokemon? The answer may not surprise you, it's the Pokemon. But you would be surprised just how much effort had to go into making this video. We're talking actual years of debating and theory crafting on and off between me and a number of my friends, the biggest contributor being a good friend and mostly retired YouTuber Emboar. It was originally going to be his video that was going to come out a number of years ago, but that didn't really work out. And then recently I had a conversation with a Redditor named NicePromotion8576 who also contributed a bunch to this. And then I forgot about it for a while. Whoops. The first big reason this is such a tricky conversation is because the rules themselves are incredibly inconsistent. And I'm not just talking about rules people decide on their own. I'm talking about rules within Pokemon's own universe. Arceus is a god governing all reality, but can be caught by a 10-year-old. Yveltal kills everything the moment it dies, but you can faint one just fine by electrocuting it really hard, and there's absolutely no consequence to that. Mewtwo has strong enough telekinesis to literally control the weather, but throwing some rocks 6 times in one fight is impossible without giving him drugs. You get the idea. There's a big discrepancy in what Pokemon's lore suggests and what the game actually does, and people on both sides of the debate tend to hop back and forth between rules depending on what suits them. The Lion side loves to mention PP as an excuse to say that Pokemon would get tired, but neglect the fact that many tanky Pokemon have ways of infinitely getting back PP throughout a fight, or otherwise stalling for eternity. The Pokemon side loves to mention Ghost-type immunity to say that Lions can't hurt them, but they neglect the fact that Ghosts only have immunities like that in the games, where Bite is a Dark-type move, which they're not immune to. At the end of the day, the primary purpose of a video game is to be fun, which means it should also deliver a balanced experience. They're going to stretch the canon as much as they need to in order to make it reasonable for the player to win. If Arceus was really as strong in the games as he is in lore, you wouldn't be able to just catch him at level 70. He'd be level infinity. With infinity for every stat, he'd know every single move in the game, and they'd be usable at all times. He'd know various moves you didn't even know existed. By the way, you don't get a turn because, why would you? The Master Ball wouldn't work because he's well above the capabilities of human technology, and at any moment he could just evaporate you from the universe if he decides he doesn't like your face. If he really thinks you're cool, he might offer to travel with you in the form of an avatar, which is like Arceus' version of an astral projection. The very same avatar that he's been fighting you with. That's right, every time you see or fight Arceus in the games or the anime, you are canonically not even interacting with the real Arceus. The real one exists outside of space and time. He doesn't even exist in a realm where you can harm him. The Avatar alone carries destructive reality-bending power at a universal level and is only one tiny piece of his actual being that is completely impossible to access by any mortal means. But golly, a billion lions is a lot of lions. The only real way to make things completely fair is to separate Pokemon into 2 distinct universes. One universe that operates purely on the context of the game's logic, mechanics, and balancing, and another universe that operates purely on lore and feats shown in things like shows, movies, and cutscenes. A lot of other YouTubers also came to the same idea, but that's only step 1 of solving the problem. We still have to figure out which side will win in each category, and when it comes to lore, it doesn't help that people often fabricate unrealistic scenarios to begin with. Let's call out just a bit of this nonsense on both sides. No, Magcargo would not solo all 1 billion lions just because its body temperature is hotter than the surface of the sun. First of all, the surface is by far the coldest part, and while 18,000 degrees is still really hot, it's not nearly as hot as it sounds. And plenty of real-world events reach higher temperatures. Second of all, body temperature is not the same as skin temperature. Its skin temperature is likely much cooler, probably around the temperature of lava. Otherwise it'd be letting out so much heat continuously that its own body temperature would be completely unsustainable. Third of all, even if the entire entity was actually 18,000 degrees, or even the temperature of the sun's core, you still need to follow the laws of thermodynamics. All heat needs to come from somewhere. Every time you touch something hot, you also make it colder by the same amount of energy. Every lion that evaporates on contact will slowly but surely sap Magcargo's thermal energy away. It only weighs 55 kilograms. An adult male lion weighs over triple that. How much mass of lion flesh do you think it'll take to bring Magcargo's temperature down to a reasonable level? I'm not going to do all the complex math on this, but it's way less than 1 billion lions worth, that's for sure. Unless you want to argue Magcargo has some magical supernatural level of metabolism creating all this heat instantly, out of nowhere, then what you're doing is the thermodynamic equivalent of pouring thousands of gallons of liquid nitrogen on a large snail and going, it'll be fine, the liquid nitrogen will evaporate instantly. And don't even get me started on lion ladders. What are you idiots thinking? You really think lions have enough cognitive function to communicate, strategize, and tower up to reach high places like they're freaking army ants or something? You also forget you can't just tower up vertically like this even if you're smart enough to try. I haven't had the chance to cover square cube law on the channel yet, but there's a big reason ants can do this and large creatures don't. As a creature gets bigger, their muscle strength gets weaker proportional to their weight. It's not the creature's fault, it's just physics. And because of this, they're much worse at performing physical feats that involve their weight, like climbing, jumping, lifting, flying, or in this case, towering on top of each other. This lion at the bottom needs to hold up the weight of all these lions on top of it. Most of these lions are just squished to death. This means instead of getting a lion ladder to reach the flying Pokemon, you're looking at a loosely directed large pile of lions that killed most of the lions in it just to exist. All a flying Pokemon needs to do is keep going higher until they run out of lions. Originally I thought they would hit the jet stream first, which is a part of the atmosphere with over 100 mph winds. However, after actually doing the math on how many lions it would take to make a pile this big, I found out they'd run out of lions only 563 meters above the ground. Forget Pokemon that could canonically travel through space, they wouldn't even be able to reach several real-life birds. But that's gotta be cheating, right? The Pokemon can't just run away and, oh right, Arceus is literally a god. All of these Pokemon on screen can single-handedly destroy all of humanity or the Earth itself if left unchecked by another one of these Pokemon. In case math isn't your strong suit, I'm saying 8 billion humans, which means 8 times the quantity of a far more capable species, cannot win a fight against any of these legendaries. Half the plot of the games and movies is that one of the legendaries is trying to destroy the world, and the other legendary is the only viable way to stop them. Mewtwo couldn't even be slowed down by humanity's greatest technology or their trainers. Kyogre can flood the Earth. Necrozma can travel through dimensions to devour all life from galaxies. You really think a bunch of large cats are gonna beat world-destroying entities? Each of the main Gen 4 legendaries have some form of reality-altering power. Forget a billion, an infinite number of lions wouldn't stand a chance. Just like how an infinite number of cyber attacks have no chance against NordVPN, the reality encrypting sponsor of this video. Before you hit the L key 11 times, just hear me out. It's still relevant to the video, okay? If you thought the Lions were a poor matchup against Arceus, you have no idea how bad of a matchup is for hackers to defeat a NordVPN user. Much like Giratina traveling into the distortion world whenever it wants, becoming invisible to the natural world, you can activate NordVPN and become invisible to anyone trying to detect your location. Pokemon are limited in how many times they can use Protect, but you're not limited in how many passwords you can protect with NordPass, which is a free service that comes with NordVPN. Funny how that works. Does that Starbucks Wi-Fi look suspicious? Hide your identity and data like Zoroark or Ditto, staying safe from man-in-the-middle attacks on the go. Want to watch a show on Netflix but is not available in your location? Just use Palkia's Distortion of Space to travel wherever you want and get access to all the shows you paid for. Click the link in the description to get up to 77% off for a 2-year plan plus 3 months extra. Don't like it? No worries. There's always that 30-day money-back guarantee. Just go back in time like Celebi or Dialga would. As far as your bank is concerned, you never even bought it. Anyways, do we finally understand just how far down lions are on the spectrum of power level? How a billion times nothing is still nothing? Cool. Now let's talk about the video game scenario. WolfVGC actually had this idea on his own video and suggested a massive team battle, where instead of being a 2v2 or a 3v3, it would be 1025 versus 1 billion. By the way, you should watch his video on this, it's really good. It's actually what inspired me to dive into this debate. I also think that's the best way to handle this fight, but unfortunately there's a critical mistake he made in his video that I needed to correct. And that's part of what took the longest amount of time. I need to make the rules very clear before I continue. The only in-game rules we are allowed to change are things absolutely necessary to make the fight possible, and those changes will be made to both sides equally to keep everything fair. Other than that, we are following every single rule and mechanic exactly as it works in the games. This means every damaging spread move has its normal area restrictions, which would be adjacent mons only. WolfVGC assumed Water Spout would hit all 1 billion lions since spread moves hit all targets in horde battles, and that's what he based his entire strategy around. But he didn't notice the grid system on the bottom screen. In a horde battle, the Pokemon are positioned so that they're all adjacent to the player Pokemon, which is why spread moves still hit everything. In a 3v3, the 2 Pokemon on the bottom would be the ones on your own team. And if you look at actual 3v3 battles from Black and White, spread moves will not affect all 3 Pokemon unless the user is in the center. So using a damaging spread move like this will not defeat all 1 billion lions. It would only hit a maximum of 3 lions at a time. Not only do we have no reason to assume the grid system will magically adjust so that the lions are all adjacent to one Pokemon, but we have actual in-game situations where a damaging spread move cannot hit everything. So this is not a viable strategy for the Pokemon to win. Now that we've clarified that, keep in mind that every field move will still affect the entire field. This means things like weather effects, tailwind, terrains, and rooms will all affect every Pokemon and every lion in battle. Yes, I understand this would need to be a very large field. And some of you may be screaming no limits fallacy already, but that sort of logic doesn't apply here. We are following every mechanic to a T, which means we completely forgo real world logic. These are moves affecting every Pokemon on the field, and the in-game mechanics specifically define the field to affect every Pokemon in the current battle. No more, no less. If there's a billion targets for a field move, it will hit all 1 billion. No limits fallacy is only an argument from a narrative perspective, where infinity is generally not possible unless explicitly stated. We're not talking about narrative anymore, we're talking about a video game. And if infinity is possible in a video game, you can't pretend it's not allowed on the assumption of realism. Right, so let's go over the rules we are changing. We're obviously changing the amount of Pokemon on the field since that's required to make the battle work, but we are also removing the range limits on single target moves. Normally, most single target moves need to be used on adjacent mons as well, but doing this means almost all the lions wouldn't be able to attack any of the Pokemon to begin with. They just have to sit there doing nothing, which means it wouldn't actually be a battle against a billion lions, it would be 1,027 lions, which simply wouldn't reflect the nature of the exercise at all. So I'm changing the rule. This doesn't actually help the Pokemon at all, but it technically applies to them anyway to keep things fair. The last rule we're changing is we're kind of merging all the generations here. There isn't a single Pokemon game that has all 1,025 Pokemon in it, so there's a couple viable ways to handle this. Option 1 is to have the Generation 9 rule set and bring Pokemon from the remaining generations as if it were an expanded national dex. While option 2 is to make slight changes to the rules to allow for mechanics and moves that aren't in Gen 9 as long as legal restrictions are followed. So each team can use either one Z move, Mega, or Dynamax, as well as use moves that don't exist anymore. But we're still not allowed illegal things like no guard Machamp. Oddly enough, I have a solution where Pokemon win in both versions of the rules, and it's actually a little bit harder in option 2, so we're going to go with that. Some of y'all might be wondering what we're going to do to integrate lions as Pokemon, and the answer is, nothing. We don't have to make a new Pokemon to represent the lions. There's a perfectly good one already. That's right, this isn't going to be every Pokemon versus a billion lions. This is going to be every Pokemon versus 1 billion Pyroars and Litleos specifically. And yes, these will be real Pokemon, with every single move, hold item, ability, and stat spread that Pyroar and Litleo normally have access to. We are changing nothing. Even Wolf wasn't bold enough to do this. And the best part, the lions won't be thinking for themselves. They get a trainer too. Why wouldn't they? The games have trainers. To remove skill from the equation, we're to assume a solved version of the battle. Each trainer knows all of the other team's possible strats and will use everything possible to defeat them. The Pokemon side will have to play around the immense coverage of the Lion team, while the Lion team will have to play around all possible strategies. If there's a single gap or flaw in the Pokemon team strategy, it's safe to assume at least 100,000 Pyroars are exploiting that exact flaw, and will completely decimate them. The only way for the Pokemon to win is to make it impossible to lose. So, let's make it impossible to lose. Ever heard of a fun move called Perish Song? It's a field move. It's one of the hardest to avoid moves in the entire game, with only a handful of things actually being capable of stopping it. Oh, but Seagull, some of the lions could be deaf. Nope, it's a video game. Pyroars have 3 abilities, none of which prevent Perish Song. Oh, but sound can't possibly travel that far. This is a video game, it travels through the whole field. The field can't possibly be that big. The field is all the Pokemon in the current battle, which includes all billion lions. Sorry, not sorry. The only thing that matters in this rule set are the in-game mechanics at play. Why doesn't Perish Song affect the Pokemon in their Pokeballs? Why doesn't it affect the trainers when moves like Sing work? Why not Pokemon sitting in the sidelines during the fight? I don't know, I don't care to know. It's not relevant to the fight because it will require a video game mechanic to be anything more than the collections of 1s and 0s that can be exploited, so deal with it. For those who aren't familiar, Perish Song is a move causing all Pokemon on the field to faint after 3 turns. Now, 3 is a little misleading because once used, it only starts counting down at the end of the current turn, not when you actually used it. Which means if you use it on turn 1, even at the very start, it doesn't actually trigger until the end of turn 4. This means surviving until the end of turn 4 with at least one Pokemon would cause a draw, and that Pokemon being immune to Perish Song would count as a win. Originally, the discussion between me and Emboar involved making as many Pokemon immune to Perish Song as possible via either Soundproof, using roleplay on a Soundproof Pokemon, or using one of the electric immune abilities, then using Ion Deluge on the Perish Song user to make the move electric type, which actually works for some reason. And since Protect can block everything the Lions can do, the problem eventually became, what are the odds of at least one of these 200 plus Pokemon landing a triple Protect? And after some quick binomial distribution math, the odds are high. That alone was going to be enough to make this video, until I had the conversation on Reddit with Nice Promotion 8576 to finally remove probability out of the equation and make it a 100% guaranteed strategy. I then spent some time optimizing it even further and ended up reworking the whole thing to get a final team of 11 Pokemon. Klefki with Magic Room and Prankster, Galarian Weezing with Misty Surge, a fast Gengar with Perish Song, 2 fast Scary Face users which were using Weavile and Electrode, 2 fast After You users, only one's fast enough being Cinccino and Mousehold, 2 really fast Haze users, which in this case will be a Murkrow with Prankster, and a Drifloon with Misty Seed and Unburden. And lastly, 2 slow soundproof Dig users, Shieldon and Bastiodon. You might notice all the Pokemon with 2 copies also have Protect for reasons I'll get into shortly. The battle begins, and the first thing that happens is Galarian Weezing's ability activates to create Fairy Terrain. Originally I was using this to block priority moves, and then I realized it's actually Psychic Terrain that does that, and then I realized I only even needed it to prevent Snatch from stealing Tailwind. And turns out not only would that not work, but that was only needed for an earlier version of the strategy. I'm not even using Tailwind anymore. The only reason it's still here is because I kid you not, a Terrain ability is the only available way to activate an item for Drifloon to trigger Unburden, doubling its speed. As for the Lions, they've chosen to Dynamax one of them for future purposes, but it can't move just yet. Now we start on priority moves. The Lions use Helping Hand a bunch to boost the heck out of their Dynamax Lion. These do stack and do so multiplicatively, so we can assume it has however much damage it needs. Next up, all our doubled up Pokemon cast Protect. Cool thing about Protect is that it blocks virtually everything anyone can do to you until the turn is over. So even a billion Lions attacking can't hurt a Pokemon who's protecting as long as it's all on the same turn. After that, Klefki with Prankster is going to use Magic Room and disable the effects of all held items. This is especially important for items that affect speed. We need our fast Pokemon to stay faster than the Lions, and some items can make that really difficult, especially Quick Claw, which has a 10% chance to ignore speed entirely and make the Pokemon move first within its priority bracket. Since Quick Claw doesn't actually count as priority, it will go through Fairy Terrain, and while it's only a 10% chance, they do have a lot of chances. Next up, we're on priority level 0 where everyone else actually gets to move. Gengar finally cashed Perish Song and it hits the entire field, which the Lions have absolutely no means of preventing or doing anything about. And yes, it even goes through Protect. Our Dig users, Bastiodon and Shieldon, have Soundproof, which means they're immune. All of our important Pokemon have now done their moves for turn 1, and the Lions are finally able to do theirs. Everyone who didn't use Protect is instantly dead. Many Lions use Flame Charge or Trailblaze to boost their own speed to +1, while other Lions smacked each other with Bulldoze, a damaging spread move, to bring some Litleos down to -2 speed. The Dynamax Lion finally hits a Pokemon of its choosing with enough force to blow up the Death Star, and since max moves can deal 50% damage through Protect, one of our final 8 Pokemon are now dead.
Eeny, meeny, miny, you!
You might have noticed we had 2 of each role here, and this is exactly the reason why. This way it doesn't matter who the Lions target, we will at least have 1 of each important Pokemon for the rest of the fight. Now we finally begin turn 2. Since we only needed 1 Pokemon of each role, we can forget about the extras and focus on these remaining 4. Our Haze user is so fast that it can still outspeed the +1 Lions. So it casts Haze, which affects the entire field and resets all stat changes. Now the rest of our fast Pokemon are faster again. We use Scary Face on the Dig user, bringing them down to -2 speed. Then we use After You, a move that makes the target move right after the user, completely ignoring all speed rules, which causes our slow Dig user to cast Dig right away, before the Lions actually get to move. The strategy is finally complete, and all we need to do now is wait. The Lions kill the other 3 Pokemon, that's fine, they've served their purpose because now we have a Dig user who's invulnerable to everything the Lions can do for this entire turn. Even the Dynamax Lion cannot hit through through Dig. Bulldoze can't hit it, status moves can't hit it, only a select few things can hit a Pokemon during Dig, and Pyroar has access to none of them. They just have to sit there and exhaust all their moves until the end of the turn. They're still using Bulldoze on each other to bring some Litleos to -2 speed again. Yes, those Litleos are still alive, they can tank up to 8 of those things with good RNG. They're attempting to move slower than our last Pokemon so they can hit it when it comes out of Dig. Turn 3 rolls around, they use another batch of Bulldozes to bring some Litleos down to -4 speed. Even if they were able to reach -6, Bastiodon is still slower. Pyroars only have one move with decreased priority, and it doesn't even work in trainer battles. Even if it did, it's sound-based, so it's not even gonna work. So the Lions have absolutely no choice but to sit there and exhaust all their moves again, with Bastiodon finally coming out of its hole at the very end of turn 3. Turn 4 starts, Dynamax runs out, and Bastiodon uses Protect. The Lions have no means of getting past it. The only way to hit Bastiodon on turn 4 would have been for them to wait to Dynamax until at least turn 2. And if they waited, we'd still have 2 full copies of the setup from turn 2, which means we'd still have 2 Dig users by now, and they can only take out one of them. No matter what choices they make, what moves they do, how the Pyroars are set up, the Pokemon team wins. And just to add insult to injury, all of the Pokemon and moves in the strategy are Gen 9 legal. So if we did this in Vanilla Scarlet and Violet, not only would it still work, but because the Lions can't Dynamax in Gen 9, we'd only need 6 Pokemon instead of the original 11, since we don't need Fairy Surge or extra copies. Imagine being a billion Lions and losing to a team that's fully legal in Gen 9 RU. So there you have it. A conversation 4 years in the making, based on a topic discussed since 2011, finally put to rest. If you liked the video, be sure to like and subscribe. This video took forever, so it would really help if you did all that algorithm crap.